there was another version of that song. I don't even remember recording. I don't remember where I was at when I recorded it. I don't remember any of the first verse. I don't remember it. So when he called me one day and told me about it, I was like, what? Remember the scratch version of Lose Yourself? I'm like, no, I don't.
It's the late fall of 2001, and Eminem is at the height of his career, experiencing life-changing critical and commercial success off of the heels of his diamond-selling sophomore album, the Marshall Mathers LP. He'd become such a global megastar at the time that he was actually filming a movie closely, but not fully, based on his life that would be released the next year. To equally impressive critical acclaim, the classic hip-hop film we would all come to know as 8 Mile. However, at the time, hidden beneath the shine and gloss of success lied some skeletons in his closet that he had yet to face, the dark and dusty bones of addiction that he'd have to clear out of his life at one point. Now, this likely explains the fact that Shady doesn't remember a minute of writing the song itself, but what about the original demo version and what made him change things around? In today's video, we'll discuss Eminem's writing process on the secret first rough draft version of Lose Yourself, compare it to the final product, hear interviews from the producer and Shady himself, and hopefully glean some of the creative lessons from one of rap's greatest artists on how to rap and how the best rappers craft their masterpieces.
What you probably don't know is that musical riff, the heartbeat of Eminem's Lose Yourself, was written by this guy, Jeff Bass.
Yeah, the driving chunk guitar is what I believe motivated M to write those type of lyrics, and it was a great uplifting feel. Just 2 chords. Piece of history.
So where did those 2 chords come from?
Honestly, I don't know. I think the universe threw them in my soul that day.
Before we dive into the differences between the original version of Lose Yourself and its iconic final product, let's first look at some of the similarities. Although the final version begins with an equally legendary distant piano that helps us descend into the world of B-Rabbit from 8 Mile and thus a young Shady, the actual main music instrumental of the original demo version of Lose Yourself and the final release are the exact same. The horn stabs, the guitar build-ups, everything. A scratch track, as Eminem called it in the beginning of this video, is one where an artist might make a completed instrumental and do some rough vocal ideas, or in his case, an entire 2 verses, with the understanding that they are likely to scratch those rough draft vocals away at some point. In that next quote, we see Jeff Bass, the main producer of Lose Yourself, talking about the creation moment, the Big Bang second of the song. Interestingly, the choice to create a masterful instrumental for Eminem to tell a story on had a historical foundation. Bass and his brother helped in the majority of production on Eminem's debut album, the Slim Shady LP, just 2 years prior to the writing of Lose Yourself, with Bass himself already having a Grammy with M from the album and helping to lay the musical background for well-known Shady storytelling tracks such as Brain Damage, As the World Turns, and Rock Bottom. Brain Damage and As the World Turns might have been a preview for the musical style we'd hear culminate in Lose Yourself, with some original guitar riff bass beats being the instrumental bed for those tracks, while Rock Bottom follows a similar lyrical style as Lose Yourself, at least in the sense that it's an internal description of self-doubt and youthful confusion of a soon-to-be major rap artist. Now, the thumping 2-guitar track of Lose Yourself helped open up Eminem himself and other co-producers build on the bed of guitars, both musically and lyrically. The rising momentum of the final song is present within the instrumental itself, since it was the same on both versions. However, the demo version of Lose Yourself, due to lyrical choices, is quite different. And with this, we arrive at the first major difference between the Lose Yourself final version and the original demo of Lose Yourself: lack of a storyline. The lyrics of the original demo start as follows: if I was frozen inside of a moment, if I could capture time inside of a capsule, an hourglass full of sand in the palm of my hand, it passes through it. If I could grasp it and just control what happens to it, then I can trap it. No more time elapses through it if raps could do it, and so on. That verse pretty much stays on this one topic of that one moment music hits your heart, much like the final chorus would describe. Now, while these lyrics are still fire and we can see what Eminem is doing here, attempting to lyrically describe one moment in life and take his opportunity, what these lyrics are not is exactly what the final product of Lose Yourself is. A lyrical buildup with a cohesive storyline that matches the musical crescendo and tension and release of the beat itself. Compare the personal monologue style of the original version, if I could capture time inside of a capsule type rap, to the third person narrative description taken directly from the film's images that starts the final version. On the surface, he looks calm and ready to drop bombs, but he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how. Okay, we'll stop right there before we have to end the video because everyone's quoting the song, but yes, notice how the beginning of the final Lose Yourself product is a storyline, novel-like description, not only of a scene in the character's life, B-Rabbit, but a scene that we've all gone through of nervousness and freezing up when it's our moment to shine and it comes along. Part of the reason Lose Yourself has stood the test of time is because its final version is a lyrical rap description of how nervousness and anxiety leading into motivation, leading into success is experienced by every single one of us. Not just one guy describing his own thoughts about a moment in musical time, as the first version, while good, only does. So by changing the lyrics from a first-person monologue about a specific moment in time to a third-person narrative storyline that everyone can relate to, Shady turned a dope track into a classic song. But it's not only the storyline that takes this well-done original demo and flips it into one of the greatest raps of all time, it's also his use of imagery and visual cues for the listener. Let's break that down next, but for any newcomer rappers watching this video, we ourselves teach you lyrical tactics like this, as well as how to rhyme like Shady in our Infinite Rhyme Maker free bonus course, which you can pick up if you're interested by clicking the first link in the video description.
You spend all your time thinking about words.
I found that no matter how bad I was at school, and no matter how low my grades might have been at sometimes, I always was good at English.
But I heard that you used to read the dictionary.
I just felt like I want to be able to have all these words at my disposal in my vocabulary at all times, whenever I need to pull them out.
Another defining characteristic of Eminem's career is the hyper-visual nature of his lyrics. For those of us old enough to remember when the Slim Shady LP first dropped, he grabbed a lot of our young attentions by having lines like, "I put 9-inch nails through each one of my eyelids," and "I stuck a rope around my wiener and jumped from a tree, don't you want to grow up to be just like me?" You know those lines. This comic book level of visual description extends deeply into the enduring legacy of the final Lose Yourself original version as well. Whereas the demo version has some witty, somewhat visual, but not earth-shattering lines such as, "We begin to move as one, in perfect unison just like the moon and sun. Illuminate the room and humans soon become aluminum, rhythmically in sync if you'll excuse the pun." What we experience in the final classic version of Lose Yourself is such a visual tour de force from a lyrical perspective that the first two lines of the song are practically an everyday part of the English language. We've all heard and seen Mom's spaghetti or palms are sweaty memes on the internet over the years. But seriously, it is truly lines like describing the actual content of what B-Rabbit is yakking out in the movie, how his hands feel, how his knees are weakening, and so on that give the immersive experience of the final Lose Yourself song that the original was lacking. Other lyrically legendary rappers such as Nas have talked about the importance of details in rap as well in order to build a world for their listeners. Let's check out Nas talking with a Harvard professor about the importance of details and visuals in lyrics as they read American poet Walt Whitman.
The clink of the shod horses on the granite floor. Man, this dude is good. But what I like about it is he's descriptive.
Yep.
And part of my thing has always been details. This picture in my head, and it's like, wow, multiple meanings.
With that being said, let's bring it all together and pinpoint exactly what Eminem did here in the final product of Lose Yourself to make it a classic, whereas the first one was good, but not great, at least by Eminem standards. Doper than a lot of other rappers. First, he changed around the lyrically creative but non-cohesive verses of the demo and turned them into an easy-to-follow narrative that even people who hadn't seen the movie could understand. However, he took things a step further by infusing the narrative of the song with the storyline of the actual film. Almost almost every image from the song's lyrics itself are mirrored in the film. Throwing up in the bathroom, choking on stage, struggling with his daughter, fighting with his baby mama, even living in a trailer. All of that is represented both on screen and in audio form, and leave it to a historically hyper-visual artist like Eminem to do it at a top-tier level, as we've shown through this discussion. And lastly, he placed this lyrical film known as Lose Yourself, so to speak, over an uplifting, epic, easy to nod to beat created by his long-term songwriting partner, not named Dr. Dre, that is both musical and hip-hop at the same time. Again, if you're an artist yourself watching this, check out our Infinite Rhyme Maker course in the video description for more info on how we can help you work on your own music. But for now, we want to see you in the comments. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate the original Lose Yourself demo version if the final version of Lose Yourself, like the one we all know, is a 10? So on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate the original demo version? I'll leave that in the video description, of course, as well. I've been your host, Drew Morrissey, the big homie Drew for How to Rap. I'm out.